Some people don't know this about me, but I don't really like Rick and Morty. I mean, I liked it initially because I thought it would be a spiritual successor to Futurama, but as time went on, it became less and less clear what the show was trying to do. Was it trying to be a comedy? Was it trying to be an action show? Was it trying to be some kind of character drama? So when people started telling me about Bojack Horseman and telling me all of the similarities it had to Rick and Morty, I didn't think I would enjoy it, so I didn't end up watching it. But then I went and made this poll about what show I should review next, and everyone voted Bojack Horseman. Well, not everyone, but fucking, you know how polls work. So, long story short, I finally managed to watch it. This isn't the first and isn't going to be the last time I talk about horses on this channel. Bojack Horseman is about the titular washed-up Hollywood bridge arsonist Bojangles Horsemanure. Bojack was the star of the 90s sitcom called Horsin' Around, and after it got cancelled, he basically sat on his ass until episode 1.
Oh, well, let's talk about real life. What have you been doing since the show's cancellation 18 years ago?
That's a great question, Charlie.
He's got a big Beverly Hills house and a homeless guy who sleeps on his couch. This world is basically our world, but all the animals are actually furries. Like, they're mostly people, but they're still animals. People still eat chicken. Mr. Peanut Butter, a side character, does all the things that dogs do, like attack mailmen and hide in a bunker when fireworks go off. It's a weird, creative decision, and other than being done as a way to make the show stand out in terms of style, I only see it as an excuse to make visual gags and animal puns.
Oh.
What is it?
Footprints, 400 yards ahead.
How can you see that far in the dark?
I'm an owl.
All right. Okay, now you're just showing off.
Speaking of style, dear Christ, is the animation in this show rough. I get it though, it's one of the very first original Netflix cartoons, so the budget was probably pretty low at the time, but fuck me, I've seen better animation on Newgrounds in 2009. The budget not going to the animation is justifiable though. Once you start watching the show, it becomes obvious that the show staff put more of their creative energy into writing. This show is 100% story-driven, and that honestly makes it difficult to talk about without spoiling anything. So, to avoid making this review too shallow, the story-driven nature of this show makes it difficult to recommend too. By recommending this show, I'd essentially be asking you to watch all 6 seasons from start to finish. You can't just jump in and start watching an episode in the middle of the series, because you'd end up confused as the characters keep referencing things that happened in an episode ago, or even 2 or 3 seasons ago. This is the main reason I like to recommend shows without massive series-long plot arcs. Of all story-driven shows, I think Bojack Horseman does plot arcs better than a lot of shows I've seen. Even after sitting through some of the worst episodes, I was still compelled to keep watching as every episode's ending set up a new conflict for the next one. I always wanted to see how characters would handle the situations they got themselves into. Bojack not only is the least interesting character in a majority of the show, but I kind of fucking hate him. I don't hate him as a character, but like, as a person, he's just an asshole. I actually like him as a character. In every episode where he's hitting rock bottom, I want to see him get better and make amends with everyone he's burned bridges with. But it's hard. It's such a weird dynamic when I want to root for the guy who sabotaged his roommate's business venture, who let his friend overdose on heroin, who tried to kiss his other friend's fiancée. I fucking hate this guy, but every time I see him get the short end of the stick, I want to see him get back up and keep fighting. His life never gets better though. He ends up in prison at the end of the series, and I think that's a really fitting conclusion. Of all the characters in the show, however, Bojack seems like he's the least interesting, or at least lacks depth. The secondary characters of the show have a lot more character to them. My favorite side characters are Todd and Mr. Peanut Butter, mainly because most other characters are huge downers. And these two characters are very positive compared to the rest of the cast. Not only are these two my favorite characters, but they share an arc in the show where they team up and just start creating businesses, and then either abandon them a week later or just forget about them.
What's on the agenda, my frienda?
Well, here's an idea. What if there was a West Dakota?
Todd, isn't that a job for the State Department?
Well, I got a whole page of other ideas, each as impractical as they are prohibitively expensive.
Well, you know what they say. You gotta spend money to make money.
It's some of the best comedy this show has to offer, and definitely gave me a chance to breathe between the heavy-handed moments. These comedic plotlines were really big in the first season, but they were offset by a couple of really serious, heart-wrenching, and sometimes wholesome moments every couple episodes. However, as you can see by this graph that I arbitrarily drew with no actual data to back it up, throughout the show, the comedy gets pushed farther and farther to the back burner, and the serious moments get brought out more and more. Midway through the series, the comedy was still front and center, but a serious moment managed to fit in every episode or two. Later seasons made the serious drama the main focus of the show, but squeezed in a few comedic moments. But in the final season, you can see that the comedy is almost completely gone. And now, if you look at this arbitrary graph of the seasons I most enjoyed, you can see an interesting correlation. The comedy in this show is great. If the show is going to be advertised as a sitcom, the comedy should definitely take up a majority of each episode. Though the serious moments really made me more invested in the characters when there are internal conflicts to give them more depth. When the characters interact, you've seen the shit they've been through, so there's another level of personality beneath the surface. In the later seasons, the show loses track of what made it great. The serious moments are a great contrast to the comedy, but when the serious moments become the main focus of the show, there's no more contrast and the show just starts to become edgy for the sake of having serious moments. Season 6 ended up being my least favorite because the comedy was just about gone. Not only that, but Bojack became the main focus while all the other characters were sidelined, and I already talked about what I think about Bojack. This show also has what I like to call Fry's dog syndrome, where it tries to force an emotional scene by playing a sad song at the end of an episode with a montage of clips. Rick and Morty has this too, and I'm 100% sure it was a writer watching the dog episode of Futurama, or the episode with Fry's nephew, and saw the emotional ending scenes with the music and thought they could just do that twice every season. No, it doesn't work if you force it. Futurama fucking earned those emotional moments. There's maybe like one time in the show where it actually lands. The abrupt cut to credits actually works a lot better in most of the show.
Maybe you're right.
Really?
No, you're fired.
Season 6 is the only season I didn't like overall. There was one episode that I really loved, but the rest of the season was kind of forgettable without the comedy. This is me from the future, and the episode I was thinking of was actually a Season 5 episode titled Free Churro, which is like a 20-minute build-up to the greatest punchline of all time. So yeah, I probably didn't like any of the episodes in Season 6. However, the rest of the show is really good, and I would recommend it to anyone willing to watch it from start to finish. Like I said earlier, if you don't watch it in order, you're going to be missing out on lots of previous stories and character development. If you like Rick and Morty and don't mind losing that sci-fi element, this show is for you. In the end, I want to see Horseman Around become its own show. They show some clips of it in the actual show, and I think it would actually be more entertaining than Bojack Horseman itself.
You're wearing that to the prom?
What? You don't think it's cute?
Nay way, Jose.
Thanks everyone for watching, and thanks for being patient because my channel has been way overdue for a full-length review. I have more stuff in the pipeline, so next review won't take half as long as this one. If you liked what you watched just now and you want to see more, make sure to, subscribe and stuff and like the video. Again, thanks for watching.